What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Action Network podcast presented by DraftKings. I'm your host, Chris Raybon. This is our NFL Week 14 betting preview. We're going to talk sides, totals, props, moneyline underdogs, touchdowns, and as always, we'll build our Sunday six-pack of Against the Spread bets. We'll double my co-host, the Prime Minister of Degenerate Nation, Stuckey. Stuck, what's up? Hope you're feeling better. Hope you had a good Thanksgiving. What's going on, man?
Yeah, sick all weekend. I had a tiny winning week in the NFL. It would have been really good because I talked about this in the podcast last week. I liked the Packers and the Cowboys, but I was so sick I crashed. Didn't get either bet in. So that was unfortunate. And then my Ravens lost. Sunday got kind of got lucky with the Saints getting a backdoor there against the Dolphins and then for the six pack, we both hit our totals, both went 1 and 2. Moneyline dog came in, touchdown didn't get there. I mean, I really shouldn't have. I played some hurt quarterbacks, which was my mistake. And then our Brosmer
Oh my gosh.
aged like milk. He pulled a Levis, which flipped that whole game. It was 3-0, like end of first half.
Yeah. Darnold was doing like they were doing to Darnold what I wanted them to do to Darnold. Like they weren't getting nothing. And then
but I had my number one pick last week was the Commanders, and
there you go.
They lost the coin toss and deferred, and the Broncos scored a touchdown, and I was like, "You got to be kidding me!" After everything that happened at the end of regulation, and that was one of the craziest NFL games I've seen in a while. The PI, the touchdown, then got called back. The touchdown again. They had to go to fourth down at the goal line. That was an awesome NFL game, and luckily they got in, and then went for two. And the Broncos escape again. But yeah, this weekend, super fun NFL week. I'm really looking forward to it because this is kind of like judgment day for a lot of these teams. Starting Thursday night, Cowboys Lions, maybe an elimination game from the playoffs. Steelers Ravens for first place. Colts Jags for first place. You know, can the Bengals make a run? They're probably going to need that to win this game. Bears Packers for first place. Texans Chiefs, maybe an elimination game on Sunday night. Eagles Chargers, important game for both. Eagles reeling, Chargers really hard schedule coming up. We'll see on Herbert's status. So some awesome matchups in the NFL for Week 14.
I thought you were talking about Commanders Vikings. That's kind of the game I'm looking forward to.
The games I have on the six pack are none of those games.
I mean, yeah, you didn't mention Browns Titans, like I don't even know what to call that at this point, but yeah, let's get in. Oh, Thursday night, man. Thursday night, as you mentioned, Cowboys, Lions, Cowboys going to Detroit. Lions, you and I think we both played the Lions not to make the playoffs, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, and I put them under 10.5 too.
Yeah, and I think I mentioned a few weeks ago, like we like the Packers and Bears, and we wanted to fade the Lions and Minnesota, and that is looking good. How do you feel about the Lions hosting the Cowboys here? Cowboys coming off that big win against KC, big win against Philly where they came back. So this is just another kind of game that looks on paper like, okay, the Cowboys have no chance. Is this when it kind of flips, or are you more confident in Dallas now? Defense has been improving.
Yeah, I mean, I think as of right now, you could argue that Dallas might be well, they're definitely playing better football. Yeah. This is not the same Lions team. The offensive line is not the same. It hasn't been the same all year, the interior of the offensive line. That's when Goff is not effective. Now you throw in all of these injuries, and it looks dire. I mean, is Amon-Ra going to play? That's huge because they say it's a game time decision. He's the type of guy that'll play though. Like if it's close, like I could see. So I would think that he's probably on more than likely to not play, but we'll see. And if he does, he's probably not going to be 100% because Raymond is out. They lost Laporta. I think that's hurting their offense. Brock Wright, their backup, is hurt. The offensive line is all dealing with injuries. It's a mess. The secondary is still dealing with injuries. This team is a mess right now. But and then the Cowboys, yeah, I mean, you look at their pressure rate, their run defense, all these things. Like they got healthier at safety, at linebacker. They added Quinn and Williams. They added Logan Wilson. They're getting pressure. They're able to stop the run. The secondary is still going to have some holes, but overall, this defense is now a competent unit. They were a bottom 3 to 5 group in the NFL. They're not no longer that, and they're trending up. And then Dak obviously is playing at an MVP level. You're gonna have these corners try to man up on Pickens and Lamb and Ferguson. Good luck. Having said that, price matters. So this look ahead's not the most efficient market as far as limits are concerned. It was like 6.5. So now we're down to 3, which I think is the correct adjustment. But I mean, if I had to bet it, I'd probably take the field goal. But I think this line is probably about right or close to it, depending on how the injuries break for the Lions. If they all break wrong, then I think the Cowboys are probably a play at 3. But what I think is that you are basically buying high on the Cowboys now. Maybe the market still hasn't caught up to them, and you're selling low on the Lions. But again, maybe the market hasn't caught up to their floor. What this game might come down to, and what a lot of Lions games come down to, is degenerate Dan Campbell going for 4th downs, and they're 0 of 7 over the past 3 weeks. The Lions, even, if they have to throw to Tom Kennedy, they're still going to put up some points. And there's probably going to be 3 or 4 4th downs that have huge win probability swing in this game. And are the Lions due to get a few? Maybe. But at 3, I don't know. I think it's probably the right number. So not rushing to bet it. Will be rooting for the Cowboys for my Lions win total under. It's funny with the Packers Bears, which we'll talk about. I bought in on all the Bears regular season upside, so I have them over win total to make the playoffs, to win the division, and to make the playoffs and over win total look good. And then I brought the Packers bigger upside at the Super Bowl. So I'm hoping that the Packers don't win the division and the Bears win the Super Bowl, and I get it flipped. But yeah, definitely was happy that I sold on the Vikings and the Vikings and the Lions. But yeah, looking forward to watching it. Cowboys are playing really well, and if they win this game and the Eagles go down against the Chargers on Monday, the division could get interesting. So huge game for both teams in the NFC playoff race. But I don't know. As of right now, I'm not like running to bet 3 with the Cowboys, but I'm definitely not betting the Lions.
I would consider the under. I don't like betting Thursday nights, but this is a great game. But looking at that total at 54.5, if the market is underrating the Cowboys, what are they underrating? Their defense. If the market is overrating the Lions, what are they overrating? Their offense. So this total, when you get above 54, like 51 is one thing, and then 54, now you essentially need them to like tie at 27, in regulation, which could happen, but it is, you're asking for a lot. And like you said, Dan Campbell has kind of tried to take this thing by the ears. Gotta give him credit, but his aggressiveness is not paying off. So I wonder, it's not a short week. It's, they play Thursday, but I do wonder if, national TV primetime again, but big game. Maybe he feels like he's costing his team. Maybe he's a little more, conservative. And then the Cowboys, they're still going to kick field goals that, from deep. So, I think you could get way under this if this kind of breaks right. Because you could also get like long drives, they might have to kind of baby Goff up and down the field now. You're not going to have much of an offense for the Lions, especially if Amon-Ra's out. So you might have to use J-Mo as like a real receiver and not just like a deep threat. So yeah, I'd probably look at the under. But I agree. I think you got to go up. Cowboys are nothing on the spread right now. The Lions just aren't playing well. There's nothing to really hang your hat on and say they're going to bounce back, other than they've covered a lot in the past, which is, that tends to regress.
And now they're not covering all the spots that they usually do.
Nope. Yeah. So it's hard to take the Lions. There's no real reason to take the Lions. They'll, and their offensive line has been on the injury report, like those tackles. So it's like, even that physicality that you kind of come to expect from the Lions, like how, where is that? We don't know for sure because I've noticed that their whole line has been banged up. They tried to bring who is it, Ragnow back, and then it's like, no, actually he's
Yeah, his
hurt.
hamstring was fully torn. What
Like,
the hell? I
yeah,
don't know what went on there.
but they had announced it. Like that tells me that something's up. Like they're not feeling good about the team internally. I think even for Campbell to take over the play calling. So yeah, I think something could be amiss. It feels like Philly a little bit. It's like whether they win or lose, you can see it. The eye test doesn't lie. You could see something's off with them. So yeah, I'd look at the under and I'd look at Dallas if I'm betting it. But yeah, 3 kind of dictates that. I would 3.5 would be obviously preferable. It's not going to get there. All right. Week 14 6-pack. You're up 43-31. For new listeners, we do 2 points for each of our first 2 picks, point for our third, point for our total, which we'll do in the next segment, and then a point if you sweep. Looks like I'm up first for this week. So for the first pick, first overall of the week 14 Sunday 6-pack, I'm going with the New York Jets +3 shop around, but New York Jets +3 hosting the Miami Dolphins. And the Dolphins are a team that I've just been saying this over the past month or so. They're not good. They're just playing a very easy schedule. And so they keep kind of skating by with these wins. They beat the Saints. Saints got in the back door last week, beat the Commanders by 3. This has just been a team. They have that lone win against Buffalo in a game. Buffalo did lay an egg and couldn't get out of its own way. And I think that's kind of propping them up in the market. But this Jets team with Tyrod Taylor has been better. They are also more balanced now, which I think is big because you don't want to be in a situation where your passing game is terrible and teams just know you're going to run. So now passing game, a little bit better with Tyrod. Adonai Mitchell finally put a game together. That's big for them because they've been missing Garrett Wilson. And then you still have Mechie, who is playing, scored 2 touchdowns 2 weeks before that. You still have Taylor. So there's enough weapons here for the Jets in a game like this. The Dolphins defense still not good. And on the other side of the ball, I think the Jets have been playing they've been underrated on defense in the sense that they've been holding up well without Sauce Gardner. It's just their turnover luck. And Tua Tagovailoa, it's just a low volume pass game. Waller's back, but there's still not a ton there in that pass game. There's still not a ton on the offensive line. There's still nothing on the back end on their defense. So these are just 2 bad teams. Division game, warm weather team going to Jersey. So give me the New York Jets +3 in this spot. Just think they're a little bit undervalued in the market. I don't think the Dolphins are at a point where they should be like 2-3 plus point favorites on the road in the division when they're, in my opinion, I have the Dolphins barely rated any better than the Jets at this point. So yeah, give me the Jets.
Yeah, the Dolphins' run defense is playing really well of late, but their pass defense is still really bad. So that's why you want Tyrod Taylor in there. Tyrod Taylor, the covering machine. I think he's covered. He's one of the best against the spread percentages of all time. I think he's covered like 7 straight over the past 4 or 5 years. These 2 teams played earlier this year. The Jets lost in Miami. They outgained Miami 404 to 300. They just had 3 turnovers, and didn't get a 4th down. Eventually, they're going to get a pick. Tua in cold weather. Probably this is a good candidate for that to happen. The wild card here, which might end up getting you the cover, which has gotten the Jets multiple covers this year, is their special teams. Their special teams right now are historically good. If you just compare to other special teams units over the past 30 years, I would imagine they're number 1 DVOA in special teams and maybe one of the best ever as of right now. You think about it. The Bucks, they blocked that field goal, returned it. Against the Browns, they had 2 return touchdowns.
Yeah.
Nick Folk can't miss. He's probably the all-pro kicker. He had a game-winning field goal from 54 out in weather against the Falcons. He's been money. Everything has been really good on special teams. So in a game with a low total, with 2 bad teams, that could make all the difference in the world.
Yeah, they're
So
number
yeah,
one. They're number one with a plus 11.3%. So Miami is who's very good on special teams itself. They're plus 4.3%. They're number four, and the Jets are still more than twice as good as them. It's just nuts.
Yeah, Jets have been dominant on special teams. Um, that interception's coming, which
Yeah.
that interception and some special teams play. Yeah, I don't blame you for taking the three, but haven't got involved yet myself. But for my first pick in the second overall, the Week 14 Sunday six pack, I'm going with the Atlanta Falcons plus 7.5 at home against the Seattle Seahawks. There's a 7.5 minus 120 out there as we're recording this. I'm fine with that. I'm also fine with a seven. Now, Drake London's status is major here. He didn't practice today. They said he doesn't even have to practice. If he's good to go on Sunday, he'll play. If he doesn't play, I imagine this might get back to 7.5. If he does, it might go down to 6.5. So play that as you will. You might want to take some 7.5, and then add or don't add based on his status, because obviously he's one of the best receivers in the NFL. Falcons don't have a great receiving core. Well, why do I like this as my favorite bet of the weekend? Well, number one, I make it under a touchdown. So number matters the most. The Falcons also, I'm buying low here on Atlanta. I mean, they're 1-4 over their past 5 games with a plus 1 point differential. And they've only played one game at home over their last five. Over their past 5 games, they're 1-4. They've only trailed in one of the games with 1 second to go, and that was by one in New England. And again, they could have easily won if not for a missed extra point. They could have beat the Colts on a neutral field. They should have beat the Jets last week. They beat them statistically, just special teams cost them. They blew a big lead versus the Panthers. And they blew out the Saints. This is a team that has 5 of their losses this year are by 3 or less or in overtime. They've been close. They've had a couple blowouts. That's always a risk. But I will say Kirk Cousins is playing better the past 2 weeks. He looked horrendous when we first saw him, and maybe that was just his age and there's rust. But he's playing better, and he gives the Falcons a higher floor than Penix. I mean, if you just go by PFF grade, I mean, Penix is like 37th, I believe, out of 42 quarterbacks. Cousins is 20th. But Penix will have these games that are just horrid, beyond horrid. And I think that you don't have as much of a risk with that with Cousins, which I like. But here's some other things that I do like. You're going to see a lot of heavy personnel from the Seahawks. Falcons on the surface, not great against heavy personnel, but the difference with Divine Diablo in the lineup versus without is, it's 3 yards per play. Because obviously you go from Divine Diablo, is one of the most underrated linebackers in the league, to one of the worst in Bertrand. That is just a massive, massive difference. So they're a little better against heavy personnel. They still struggle against the run, but this Seahawks offense is not great at running the ball. I mean, they're 25th in success rate, 23rd in rush EPA. And Sam Darnold quietly has been pretty poor over the past month. 4 big time throws, 9 turnover worthy plays, 3 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. He is still very sensitive to pressure. Falcons can get pressure. They're 5th in the league in pressure rate, 3rd in sacks. And Darnold, since week 10, 25th in EPA plus completion percentage over expectation, 26th in adjusted EPA per play. Over the first 9 weeks, he was number one in both. So what has happened? And by the way, over that stretch, the last 4 weeks, he's played the Cardinals without all their corners, the Titans, the Vikings, and the Rams. Some decent defenses, but not a murderer's row. I mean, only one of those teams is going to the playoffs. So what has happened? I think defenses have adjusted. Seahawks were doing some very unique things. You saw last week, Vikings, a lot more cloud coverages. They were putting someone over the top of JSN and basically saying, like, JSN, you're not going to beat us. And I really do think that they missed Torrey Horton. Shaheed was supposed to be the guy. He's been invisible. He's doing nothing out there. And so it's
Or wind
basically,
sprints, yeah. Running
yeah,
wind
so
sprints.
you have Cup, who's just, I mean, he's obviously past his prime, and then JSN. Falcons, very similar defensive profile to the Vikings. They're going to blitz a lot. They can get pressure. They're going to play a lot of different zones. I imagine they're going to help over on JSN and say, throw it to Cup, throw it to Shaheed, and if they beat us, fine. So this offense is just not the same. There's injuries on the interior of the offensive line that I think the Falcons can take advantage of. And Atlanta generally does a good job of taking away explosive passing plays. And if you look, I think this is also the top of the market. So buying low a little bit on the Falcons, potential for London to be back. I'm also selling high on the Seahawks. I think this is the peak of the market on Seattle. Coming off of a shutout win, and for what it's worth, road teams off of a home shutout, 17-35-1 against the spread, 32.7% since 2003. And the Seahawks are 9-3 against the spread. They've been covering machines. Another reason why they might be at the top of the market. They're also only 1-3 against teams currently in the playoffs. They're 8-0 against teams that are not. So they've beat up on a pretty favorable schedule. I do love the defense, but they haven't really faced many elite backs like Bijan and an elite, Falcons offensive line that still is really good. So, yeah, I think that they can handle that Seattle pressure. I just think this is too many points. It's a decent spot. Cousins going to be getting rid of the ball quick. Hopefully, London is in there. But I think that they can give Darnold some of the same issues that the Minnesota defense did. And before Brosmer threw that pass on 4th and goal, I mean, they were going in to go up 7-3 at the end of the first half. Pick six, turns it into 10-0, game slips away. Remember the Cardinals game, they get 2 strip touchdowns and then that game just goes away. That's masked some of the offensive issues that have occurred over the past month. I think the Falcons can exploit those. So give me Atlanta plus 7.5 at home.
Yeah, Seattle's they're definitely like, and this is, Darnold kind of collapsed down the stretch last year, so I'm kind of watching Seattle close too, just for that, because I have noticed Darnold playing not as well, and some of it, against the Rams, I don't really knock them because they've just had his number, so that's the team that I'm like, all right, and then the Vikings, like, okay, they're familiar, so if this Falcons defense can kind of do something,
what can the Falcons, Rams, and Vikings, all teams that can get pressure at elite level.
And they're all friends. Like all their coaches are essentially like friends with each other. So it's like, yeah, I'm watching them close because this Seattle team is, they've been a juggernaut on paper. But last month of the season, going into January playoffs, should be some good spots to fade them if they keep this up. So they could win this game without covering too, which could mask some things. So yeah, looking at that.
Yeah, I mean the only playoff team. The only team that they beat is the Jags. The other playoff teams they played, the Niners, they lost 17-13 at home. The Bucks. I mean, the Bucks offense has been in the tank for 2 months. Baker Mayfield looked like a god in that game. And then the Rams. Look, the defense is elite. Don't get me wrong. They can get pressure without blitzing. But I think that they just overall, this team is probably at the peak of the market and maybe a little bit overrated. And Darnold, he's going to take some sacks here. It's going to kill some drives. I think the Falcons can keep it close. Where are you going next?
All right, for my second pick, the third overall of the week, number 14, Sunday 6-pack, I'm going with the Pittsburgh Steelers plus 6 at the Baltimore Ravens. And this is just a play on the fact that I don't think the Ravens are as good as they used to be. I don't think the Ravens are as good as I thought they were going to be. I've had to downgrade them significantly. The Steelers are, they're mediocre as they always have been, but in this type of environment, everyone's calling for Tomlin's job, and I think Roethlisberger just said something. I expect Pittsburgh to show up, and it's a division game, and you're talking about a 6-point spread now for a Ravens team that really, I know they had, likely had the issue with the fumble at the at the goal line and whatnot, but even so, I mean, you shouldn't be just scoring like 21 against Cincinnati if you're Baltimore. I mean, I think there's significant issues here. There's still red zone issues. Pittsburgh, they're gonna go with their heavy tight end sets and against Pittsburgh. So That's not great for Pittsburgh in one sense because that's kind of what they've been attacked with. But on the other sense, you're talking about a game with a total of 43, outdoors, cold weather kind of environment. So you want the total to be low. And when you see a lot of heavy personnel, which both teams play, that's going to keep the score down. So I'm getting 6 points in a division game with a total that's probably going to close under 43. And this Steelers team, it's been ugly most of the year. It has, but in a game like this, go up and down the field, short passing against the Ravens, Lamar's explosiveness just not there. They don't really have much on the outside. If Flowers isn't having a big game, I mean, there's just nothing there. So, and then for Baltimore doesn't get the greatest of pressure. So Pittsburgh's been kind of using that 6 offensive linemen, and then Jones got hurt, and then they went to Buffalo and did nothing. But I think they're just going to kind of protect, play heavy, and it's just going to be a low scoring game. And I don't trust Baltimore at this point to get margin or hold it. I mean, we've seen that too from Baltimore, where they just kind of give away leads. This year it's kind of been a little different, but this is just the fate of Baltimore.
I mean, yeah, historically, every fiber in my body says this game's going to be close somehow. 26 of the 32 regular season meetings between Harbaugh and Tomlin have been decided by one score. When either of these coaches against each other are a dog of 3 or more, I said this every year, they're 19-3-3 against the spread, 86.4%. Unders, I don't mind the under here, 20-13-1. The Steelers' offense, I think, is done. I mean, Rodgers is at minus 13.6 completion percentage over expectation since week 10, dead last among 38 quarterbacks. I mean, behind like Gabriel and Sanders, even with a small A dot. They haven't completed a pass longer than 20 yards in a month. The receivers aren't getting any separation. Rodgers now, they have to go in shotgun the entire game. He does no ball control. It's a disaster. I don't know how their offense gets fixed. Now, the Ravens' offense is also broken. I mean, Lamar, he's still not fully healthy. He's talked about it himself. He's still with his toe, his knee, his hamstring, all of that. He still hasn't been fully healthy. I mean, since week 10, if we look at that same span since he came back, I mean, when he's not pressured, his catchable ball rate is only 77%. That's 30th among 31 quarterbacks.
Playing like the Lamar that like people who are like just never saw Lamar play thought he was like.
He's just a running back. I mean, this is a guy who before this year was #1 all time in passer rating. He had never. I mean, through the first 9 weeks, his catchable ball rate was 89%. Since week 10, it's down to 77%. Also, when he's not under pressure, his on target rate 65%. That's 29th. Only Cam Ward and Jameis have been worse among qualified quarterbacks. He's never finished. And through the first 9 weeks, it was 77%. It's down to 65% on target, unpressured. So the offensive line also isn't as good. But there is going to be the one thing that would concern me about betting the Steelers here is there is a chance that Lamar, there's going to be a week when he finally does get healthy. Maybe it doesn't come, but there's a chance that and then once he gets that mobility back, he gets that burst that'll help in the run game. And then it'll also help. How many times does Lamar, I think it's hurting his mechanics too, but create just running around, his pressure to sack ratio is skyrocketed because he doesn't have that same mobility, especially in the red zone.
I mean, I want that against the Steelers though. I want the Steelers have been
Yes, no, I'm just saying in general,
Tomlin,
the whole offense will look. But the Steelers, even when he's peaking, have always done a good job
running the ball. So I want, if he's trying to extend himself in this game, or try to feel it out, I'll take that all day because this is the type of game this is. 2 broken offenses, division game, total that's creeping below 43, probably end up closing 41. And you're getting a 6-point number. That's so. I just don't trust the Ravens to win by margin. I'm not saying they're still the better team somehow. This division has just gotten into shit from what we expected coming into the year. But
I'm talking for more upside, but for the rest of the season. The other thing I would worry about, and Pierre is probably going to be out. He's been playing well for the Steelers. Queen might miss. I think he's overrated, but the Steelers, like, can the Ravens run defense has been decent. They've been pretty good. And since week 10, they're basically top five run D. And they've been pretty good most of the year, except when they were just completely ravaged by injuries. The Steelers' run D is piss poor. So is this a game where they could just run Henry all over them? I mean, last week I had the Steelers. The the Bills ran 29 of the same running play 29 times, and it worked every time. Where were the adjustments? What are the players doing? I don't know this defense, but yeah, I mean, it's Ravens Steelers. It'll be 20-17 somehow.
Yeah, like it's not that I trust the Steelers. It's more that I trust the Ravens to not run away with this game. Like so, yeah, they might get up, but I've seen this too many times. But yes, trends. I mean, you mentioned a bunch of them, but yeah, the dog in the Pittsburgh Baltimore Tomlin versus Harbaugh Bowl overall, just the dog, regardless of the spread, 24-7 against the spread, 77%. If you just bet the dog every single time in this matchup, you would have a 45% ROI. So I'll just leave it at that. We'll get to the second half of the six pack, but before we continue, just a reminder: you could tail some of the bets we discussed in today's show by finding the quick slip links in the podcast and video description. You can also go to actionnetwork.com/bet now to find those quick slips, or even better, sign up for Action Pro. Action Pro users get real-time alerts as soon as experts like Stuckey, Brendan Anderson, myself track picks in the Action app. You'll also get real-time money percentages to see where the smart money is flowing, and access to our NFL player prop projections powered by Sean Kerner and the predictive analytics team. Just go to actionnetwork.com/pro to get started and use promo code POD20 for $20 off an annual subscription. That's POD20 for 20 off. The rest of our Sunday six pack is coming up, but first I'll throw it to myself for a quick word from our sponsor. The Action Network podcast is sponsored by DraftKings, and in partnership with DraftKings, our listeners get a great offer. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets. That's right. New customers turn $5 into $200 if your bet wins, paid instantly in bonus bets. If sports betting is not yet available in your state, don't worry. You can still join in on all the fun with DraftKings daily fantasy sports and have the shot to win cash prizes. To get started, use promo code Action Network when signing up. Again, use code Action Network when signing up with DraftKings to get on board. The crown is yours. All right, Stuck. So we just had the Falcons and the Jets, Falcons, Steelers. So we're like fully in the ugly part of the season, the ugly part of the six pack. Where are you going with your second pick?
Oh no, I mean Ravens Steelers at least is a high leverage rivalry game. We haven't gotten ugly yet. By the way, I will mention that the Ravens they cannot get pressure, which is going to help Rodgers here. I mean they're I think 29th in the league since week 9, but bottom tier. Just since they lost Matabuke, it's been really bad. But for my second pick and the fourth overall of the Week 14 Sunday six pack, I am going with the Las Vegas Raiders plus 7.5 against the Denver Broncos. I'll make this short and sweet. This is disgusting. I I get it, but this is just a numbers play. I make this closer to 6. I'm getting over a touchdown. I'm going to take the Raiders. Fate of Bo Nix. I mean, this is Bo Nix. Yes, he's had some good moments against some historically bad defenses, and then in the fourth quarter, he's still too inaccurate. Over the first 3 quarters of games, his success rate is basically the same as Geno Smith's for the full season. The Broncos, this is a plus luck ranking game, by the way. The Broncos, their games away from home this year, lost by 1 to the Colts, lost by 3 to the Chargers, beat the Eagles after a crazy comeback by 4, beat the Jets by 2 on a neutral field when they had -10 passing yards and they had Justin Fields starting, beat the Texans with Davis Mills on a crazy comeback by 3, and then beat Washington on a failed 2-point conversion by 1 in overtime. They have yet to win away from home in 6 tries by more than 4 points. They're 4-2 with a plus 6 point differential, 4 wins by 4 or less, and 2 losses. We talked about the Ravens pressure rate. Do we have to start talking about the Broncos pressure rate? Since week 9, 27th in the NFL in pressure rate.
Are they trying to just? Are they trying to? My thought with that, because I did notice that is, that was around the time Sertan went down, right?
But last week they had a 15% pressure rate.
Yeah,
So they couldn't get pressure on Josh Connerly, which is very bizarre. I don't know. The other thing is here is the Raiders' offensive line is abysmal. They made some changes. They started a rookie last week at guard. They moved Kappa to center. It's still horrendous. And Geno Smith's probably going to take a bunch of sacks here. But the Broncos were on the field for 100 snaps last week. They were gassed the end of that game. They traveled to Washington, now traveled to Vegas. And, there were some decent things that the Raiders did differently under Greg Olson, the new play caller. They went under center a little bit more. It was still awful, but maybe we see a little bit more of improvement this week. The first meeting was 10-7 with the Raiders coming off an overtime game where they were on the field for 90 snaps on a short week.
Yeah,
so
it's about the D.
Over a touchdown at home.
It's about their D.
Don't care about this game.
Yeah.
Home divisional dog. By the way, home divisional dog is more than a touchdown, 56.5% historically. When the total's below 42, 21-9 against the spread since 2003, 70%, covering by about a touchdown per game. So yeah, Broncos might be a little fat and happy here. Tough schedule coming up after the Raiders game.
Bo Nix against zone. Bo Nix against zone.
Bo Nix against zone.
That's all it is. That's it.
We'll make them work, and
that's it.
It's just too many points. So
yeah,
it's disgusting. I get it. But I'm taking the Raiders.
Yeah, no, this was gonna be my third if you didn't take it. I think this is a good pick. It's for me.
Nick Giffen approved luck rankings, by the way. It's it's the best A+, which are like 62% historically.
Yeah, let's not talk about the Giants there on Monday night. But yeah, it's Bo Nix against zone, and I circle all those matchups because now we're 13 weeks into the season. Raiders playing zone at one of the highest rates in the league, probably ever. I mean, it's consistently 80% plus zone team. They just like to sit back and make you drive the field. That's what the Broncos are going to struggle at. And on the other side, it's going to be a low scoring game because the Broncos defense is good, but that's going to kind of constrict the game, and you're getting 7.5 points. So
the only they could get ugly. Look, I get it. It could end up being like the Browns. I mean, the Browns blew out the Raiders, and the Raiders are just like playing a lot more young guys. Like they played 10 rookies last week.
Good. They should.
I know, but I'm saying like it just adds more variance. Like they played Porter on the outside at corner. What's his name? Chin's doing a good job in the slot, but they played a rookie guard. They played Greedy Vance some. So
oh my God, yeah.
So you're seeing a lot more young faces. You got to see what they have. So hopefully Bowers has a big game. Get Genty some throws in the back. But this is just the fate of Bo Nix is a big favorite. So give me the Raiders.
I agree. I'm going with the Jaguars plus 1.5 at home against the Colts. And this Jaguar team, it's been away from home. This team just has drastically different home road splits. And now you have the Colts coming in here. And what do we know about the Colts? They never seem to win in Jacksonville. Jacksonville catches people off guard this time of year because it's a whole different kind of climate environment. You're mostly playing either in domes or cold weather, and then you go out to Jacksonville, and it's just a whole different game. But if you look at historically, the Jaguars versus the Colts in Jacksonville, 7-1 against the spread, going back to 2015, 88%, 72% ROI. Jaguars, do have Brian Thomas back. Now it looks like Parker Washington's hurt, but they also have Strange back, which you pointed that out before too. I think he's big over the middle of the field and just, giving Trevor Lawrence still more options in that
Myers
space.
Has been amazing for them.
Yeah, I didn't expect that either. I thought he was going to be, just like a inconsequential, but he's been really good for Trevor Lawrence. It seems, Liam Cohen.
And he never drops balls like all the other Jags.
Yeah. So we have to trust Liam Cohen. I think we came into the season doing. And he, seems to like, all right, Trevor Lawrence not playing well at all pretty much most of the season. But, the changes they've made with Myers, getting Strange back now. I like, Tootin's been involved in the run game. They're not overdoing it with him because they're not going away from ETN, who's been good as well. So I think the offense, the Jags offense is going to be fine here against the Colts. They just lost Sauce Gardner again. Pressure isn't great. And the Jaguars do have some positive regression coming. Lawrence leads the league in drop passes by his receivers. that's trending up. And then on the other side, Jaguars have played solid defense much of the year. Daniel Jones, you're starting to see, that kind of come back down to earth a little bit. Even Taylor, starting to see come back down to earth. I trust this Jaguars defense to get it done here against Jones and Taylor. They've been good against bad quarterbacks. I'm not going to call Jones a bad one, but he's definitely like Sam Darnold. I think there's going to be more opportunities to fade these kind of teams down the stretch. So give me the Jags here back at home for a rare home game for them. Sitting here at 8-4, same record as the Colts, by the way. Our Jags division win ticket is still live, so I think this game should be more like a pick or even Jags favored. I think the Jags, you still have some questions about their strength of schedule, but those are also kind of mixed in with them just being on the road. So back at home, they've had quality wins. So yeah, give me Jacksonville.
Also worth noting, what Tyquan Lewis, Kenny Moore, Josh Downs didn't practice today. Uh, the Colts really miss DeForest Buckner. Their run D when Buckner and Stewart are on the field together versus when one of them is off allows 1 yard fewer per carry. So, and that's the Jags cap. Can the Jags run the ball? And then everything stems from that in this matchup. I think they can. Jones isn't fully healthy. He doesn't have that same lateral movement because of his leg. It would be nice if Walker and Armstead play. They could get Murray back at safety, but I don't know what's going on with Walker. He didn't practice again today. I don't know why he didn't go on IR or if he's going to play, but it would be nice if the Jags had their full defensive line. But I think they'll be able to run the ball here, and they are a much different team at home. We'll be rooting for the Jags. Duval. All right, for my third pick and the sixth overall for the Week 14 Sunday six pack, I'm going. It gets uglier somehow. I'm going with the Minnesota Vikings -1.5 against the Washington Commanders. Look, this is the ultimate buy low spot team off of a shutout. What it's worth, teams after scoring 3 or less over the past 10 years, 90, 63, and 5 against the spread, 59%. Why is that? Who wants to bet the team that just scored 3 or less? Historically, all time, after getting shut out, teams are 57% against the spread. As a dog or a favorite of less than a touchdown after getting shut out, since 2003, 56, 36, and 3 against the spread, 61%. This is also just a buy on the Vikings after one of a brutal stretch. They were 3-2 before the bye. Then here's who they faced. Eagles at Chargers. They should have beat the Eagles. At Chargers, at the Lions, they won that game. Ravens, Bears, at Packers, at Seahawks. I mean, all those teams could be in the playoffs. Washington's first road game in 41 days after a heartbreaking OT loss when they were on the field for the entire game. Washington will get no pressure on McCarthy. Can he hit a wide open throw? I don't know. Maybe not. Hopefully he can. I do think that their defense will be the best. The Vikings defense will be the best unit on the field. This is still, look, Dan Quinn has made the defense serviceable, right? It's playing more zone. They're more functional. It's not a complete disaster, but it's still not a great defense. It's void of talent, and they can't get any pressure. You saw Bo Nix just go down the field in 80 yards in like 4 plays, like it was nothing. And I think Daniels might play here, and I'm fine with that. After this long break, and there might be a lot of rust, he holds on to the ball longer. He's struggled much more against the blitz than Mariota this year. And by the way, they had the same number of snaps. Mariota's numbers are much better than Daniels this year. Not saying that Mariota's a better quarterback, but Daniels is just having a sophomore slump type year. He's never gotten the timing right with his receivers, all the injuries. So I think it could be a mess if he comes back against this defense. A hard place to play. So yeah, betting JJ McCarthy is a favorite. What could possibly go wrong? A lot. But I think this is the bottom of the market on the Vikings, and I think it's a good spot to back them. Give me Minnesota -1.5.
Yeah, it's tough to get there. I mean,
You
this
played
Vikings.
Brosmer last week.
I know.
You can't talk.
I know. I'm not saying I'm against it. I'm saying it's just tough to get there. It's like it's Minnesota. It's you
That's
try to
that
hang it.
feeling. No one wants to
Yeah,
bet the Vikings
yeah,
this week. That's why I'm telling
yeah,
you.
yeah. Yeah.
It was going to be 7-3 in Seattle with a minute to go in the first half. This is a team that still won at Detroit. Should have beat the Eagles at home. McCarthy, I know his mechanical issues. He might just miss every throw. I get it.
Yeah.
But I'm taking the
Uh,
Vikings.
oh man, this is the ugly. This is the ugly six pack that we needed. Let's see. We got
I
so we've
got
got
Cousins, Gino, and McCarthy.
yeah. That's actually worse than I thought somehow. Like I mean, yeah, I mean I got Tyrod, Rogers, and Lawrence, which somehow sounds like so much better than yours. Which means I'm gonna go 0-3. But yeah, no,
Oh,
that was our six pack.
yeah, it's disgusting. I apologize to everybody.
Happy holidays, guys. If you want to tell these bets, again, look for the quick slip link in the podcast and video descriptions. Make sure to sign up for Action Pro for instant notifications when all of our expert bets are tracked.